do you not know that he's my dad? Boogie woogie woogie.
Nope.
Yeah, I thought so.
I don't know that.
Oh, weird. Okay.
Hi.
Hello.
Welcome back. Oh, you have the light on.
Hello.
Hi, guys.
Welcome back to another episode.
Today's episode, we are talking about, or I guess debating. There's not really much to talk about, but
It's
a lot of
very discussion based.
yeah, very philosophical. So coincidence versus everything happens for a reason.
Yay.
So that'll be the focus of our attention.
So fun.
But I've got some opinions on Perfect Match now that I'm done.
Okay, and I've got some opinions now that I've started it.
First off, we both don't like Francesca.
Yeah, because, like, I love Francesca, but I hate how she's being in this, like, and it's how she was in Too Hot to Handle, too.
Yeah.
But she's just so pretty that I can't ever fully hate her.
So pretty privilege.
Yeah, pretty privilege is a thing.
Yeah. I don't know. She just is giving me the ultimate mean girl vibes.
Well,
I'm not about it.
Yeah, 100%. And when she's like, oh, she was so mad that Dom was talking to someone. And then she goes on a date with someone else and chooses them over Dom. And is still mad that Dom is talking to other people.
Well, yeah, she like set it out to kick Savannah out.
Yeah.
Over Savannah just being like, oh, I want to talk to Dom. Literally.
And it's like, you can't have it both ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. I'm not a fan of Francesca.
No.
Shane is also showing his crazy big time, like more than in Love is Blind, or at least the editing really shows the crazy more than they did in Love is Blind.
Oh, really? I thought they showed it less.
Like in Perfect Match?
Yeah, I feel like he's like a more of a relatable person and less like in Love is Blind he was portrayed like a coked out golden retriever.
He still is.
I know, but it's toned down so much more, in my opinion, than Love is Blind.
He's so tweaky and like
what?
He'll go from like cool, calm, and collected to toddler tantrum in 0.2 seconds.
So fast.
And so that gives me coked out golden retriever vibes.
That just gives me insecure man-child vibes.
Yeah, he's had that in both.
Yeah, it's just, well, and like,
I don't think.
Oh my gosh, was this filmed before or after his mom died?
I didn't even know his mom died. 8 months after after Natalie said no at the altar.
Yeah, so, he has a lot to work through.
So for Perfect Match, I think he's almost crazier because of that emotional stuff.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah.
And it's also interesting to like learn more about like Chloe and Mitchell's relationships because I totally forgot they were dating. Like I
didn't even know that because I haven't watched The Circle. That's one show that I've never been drawn to, so I have no idea.
As someone who's watched all the shows except for The Mole and
Sexy Beast.
That's it. Yeah. I was gonna say Party Animals. I'm like, that's not it.
Basically.
Yeah. As someone who's watched all the shows except for it, it's just really interesting to be like, oh, I forgot about this person. And or like, oh my gosh, this is so good.
Well, and it's kind of nice because like, it's nice to see like Shane again.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really like him, even though he has to work on himself a lot.
He's got a lot of emotional hurt, and I can see that.
Yes.
But it doesn't excuse the fact that he like shuts down and is like, I'm leaving, I quit, I'm done.
Well, and they all do that.
Yeah.
They all, I mean, like Dom and him and Inez, they all are like, no, I'm leaving. And then someone like talks them out of it and they're like, no, I'm staying.
Yeah.
And they're like, why did I stay? I'm like, oh my God.
Inez's reason, I understood hers. It wasn't an emotional reaction. She was just kind of like, well, those are my options.
Literally.
I'm done. Like, there's nothing here for me.
Yeah.
I understood hers, but.
Well, and Bartiz. Oh my God. I'm not going to talk about what you guys think I'm going to talk about because I'm not there yet. His manipulation and just like, it's unbelievable to me.
It's on highlight in this one. I didn't think he was so bad in Love is Blind.
Yeah.
Like, he was not the worst person in Love is Blind by any means. I think his was so muted by Zenab's crazy.
Yeah.
But his like true crazy really shows in this one. You can see it in his face. Like he shoots daggers.
Yeah.
The minute someone like challenges him ever so slightly, you can see in his face where he's like serial killer daggers. Like,
well, and as soon as someone's like, oh, like I don't think you're gonna choose me as a match, he's like, well, why would you say that?
Yeah.
Like, why would you think that? Like, I've done nothing but love you for this entire time. Like, why would you think that I wouldn't choose you as a match? It's like, well, because you've said the same thing to 4 other girls.
But the timeline from when... Who... Did he say no or did... No. Yeah, he said no.
He said no and Nancy said yes.
Yeah. So from that timeline to the recording of the show, if it was 8 months for Shane, that means it was like a month or 2 for him. There's no way.
Love is Blind 1 and Love is Blind 2 were filmed at almost the same time.
Yeah, but there's no way, like...
It wasn't enough time.
For Love is Blind and then after The Altar and then now on this show, it had to have been only like a couple of months.
And Nancy addressed it in the After the Altar. She was like, we were trying to make things work, and then I found out that he applied for the perfect match. And I was like, wow, isn't that a kick at the face? Like...
Yeah. So...
It's just so...
I love reality TV.
You know, and I could just live without it. It stresses me out because I get so attached to the characters who are just people.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh my goodness, no, I'm so sorry. But it's weird because, like, how I've liked people has changed.
Yeah.
Throughout watching the season.
Yeah.
But, okay.
Well, we'll get into today's episode. So as I mentioned earlier, it is coincidence versus everything happens for a reason. And so we have some philosophy, some religion, some just questioning the universe coming to us. So what is coincidence? Coincidence is an occasion when 2 or more things happen at the same time in a way that is unexpected or unlikely.
Yeah.
And so this is, I guess, the quote-unquote science argument more so. It's there's nothing greater than us. It's just weird timing.
Everything's random. Yeah.
Yeah. And so in analytical psychology, the recognition of seemingly meaningful coincidences is a mechanism by which the unconscious material is brought to the attention of the conscious mind.
Yeah. So, like, your unconscious is picking up things that your conscious isn't, and then when 2 things align, your unconscious is like, hey, look at this. And they're like, oh my goodness, what a coincidence.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's just kind of like a funny happening. There's nothing, there's no meaning to it. There's no God Almighty reasoning for this.
Yeah.
And for God, we're going to be talking about like God, creator, the universe, like all of it is just like something other than us.
Yeah.
Not necessarily
a greater
like,
being.
Yeah.
In theory.
It's
like,
not necessarily Jesus Christ himself, but for some, if that's your view, then
that's who we mean. But yeah. It's just like a all around
God
term.
Is just something greater than us.
Yeah.
And then so when it comes to coincidence, we also need to understand the term synchronicity, which is the occurrence of meaningful coincidences that seem to have no cause. And so Carl Jung introduced this theory in the 1950s, and he believes that coincidences are related to our mind and serve to provide powerful insight, direction, and guidance.
Yeah. So he kind of tries to explain coincidence and everything happens for a reason. Like, half of what he says is like, oh, this is what a coincidence is, and then the other half is like, oh, everything happens for a reason. It was very confusing. But like an example of synchronicity would be like thinking about someone and then they call you the next minute, or like dreaming of finding something precious and then finding it a few days later. So synchronicity can be found in dreams, symbols, numbers. Go watch our angel number episode. Quote unquote random events, conversations, spontaneous encounters. It kind of awakens you to your full potential and serves as a guide to get in touch with your inner self. So it kind of helps your conscious work with your unconscious again.
So then when you translate or shift over to the concept of like everything happens for a reason, which is more of like God, spirit, universe, great divine side of things. Yeah. It's based on the belief that there are greater plans happening, right? And so people as a whole want to believe that there's a cause for every event. However, this cause is not always known to us. Yeah. And so this is where, I mean, the argument of like past life lessons and that you have this general guide that you're meant to follow.
Yeah.
As a person brought in, as a spirit brought into this world in your physical form.
Yeah.
A lot of these, it falls underneath everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, that there's a set path that you are supposed to go down, because as a human, not having that is very scary, and something we all do as a species is to search for that greater meaning to things we're experiencing.
Well, it's even like, I mean, why science went so deep into like creation, right? As a whole. Some people are like, oh yeah, God, Jesus, 7 days, and da-da-da. And other people are like, nope, Big Bang Theory. We just like exploded from particles.
Exactly.
And the funny thing to me with these arguments is that there's no way of proving which is which. And that might be a hot take.
Well,
but no one was there. We weren't there.
True. I feel like they have proved that the Big Bang Theory was something that happened. But for me personally, the idea of two atoms colliding so perfectly to create our entire life is unfathomable. Like, I can't wrap my brain around that. And there's no way to prove or disprove the Bible, basically, like saying that Jesus was alive and XYZ happened, right? Like, yeah, we can't prove God created the earth in 7 days, but was those 7 days not the 24-hour days that we conventionally think of now? Were they God time or whatever? So it could have been the Big Bang Theory, but the Big Bang Theory was orchestrated.
Yeah.
Like, that's what
I've just got questions, and it's so hard for me to think like that far into history, right? Because like the minute you see, I mean, cavemen writing on walls, you can kind of date that back based off of mineral analysis and different science things that are in place now. And I'm not saying that Big Bang is wrong or religion is wrong. I just am like, no one was physically there.
Yeah.
To translate that or prove that. And maybe there's something of this piece for the theory that I'm missing.
Well,
but like, I mean, we all had to start from somewhere, right? Like, everything is connected, and everyone's genetic makeup with plants, animals. They're not, like, percentage wise, there's not that great of a percentage. Everything's like 1% from difference that genetically separates us from a centipede. Right. It's only a couple percent. So everything did come from one source at some point. Yeah. But was it two cells colliding, or was it a meteor crashing into Earth, and Earth was already predetermined? We were just like a floating rock space. And is that the Big Bang? Yeah. Or is the universe created in the Big Bang, and all the life forces just happen to be on there? Because there's water on Mars, and that's all particles. So who's to say? I mean, like, that one day, whatever cells that created life on Earth could create human-like life on Mars.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't know. It's just questions. And I tried to get one of my friends in university to explain it to me, because I was like, I do not understand the Big Bang Theory. Yeah. I do not, like, how? Because what was tripping me up is that spontaneous combustion isn't something that happens in the realm of science. So I'm like, how did two cells spontaneously combust together to create Earth? Like, doesn't that just defy science? But they're like, no, they spontaneously collided, and they collided at just the perfect, like, rate and time and, like, connection way or whatever.
But are these cells space, or are these cells before space?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Are these cells outside of the Milky Way?
Did they create our entire freaking galaxy? If we zoom out that much, I'm going to have a panic attack. I'm going to be straight up with you. I can feel it coming.
The Milky Way is big. And we are ants in the Milky Way.
We don't even know how big the universe is, which is an absolutely terrifying thought.
And this is why also I think there has to be something more than us. There's no way that we are so significant that we are the only life form that's conscious of knowing that we're the only life form.
Literally.
In such a scope of the world that we don't know.
Yeah. Like, the galaxy is infinite.
What we know is up to, like, cavemen era.
Literally.
And then everything out there is, like, hypothesized. And even then,
yeah, it's all interpretation. And, oh my god, yeah. Okay. So... It's gonna be quite an episode.
Well, also,
no, go ahead.
Another idea. how many times were the dinosaurs wiped out before our dinosaurs that we know were wiped out? How many times that happened prior to us?
There is an answer to that, but I don't know what it is, because there has been more than one catastrophic event that has completely wiped the Earth.
Yeah. Because cause to go from Pangea to where we're at now,
yes,
that's a lot of time and a lot of shifts.
So much had to happen in between then and now, right? And like, what even happened when it was just Pangea? Like, how many events happened then?
Was there more landmass other than Pangea that now is at the
that we don't
in the
know
Marianas
of?
Trench? Is that how Marianas Trench was created?
It's just
from some catastrophic event.
The carburetor for Earth.
And right down to the core, molten lava built right back out again.
Oh my god. Hey, that'd be pretty cool. It's just kind of like a cycle.
Yeah.
Funky.
And so from the Big Bang, did the Earth flood over, as in Noah's Ark example? Did that flood over multiple times and just to Earth to reemerge again?
Yeah.
After the molten builds the landmass back up from the bottom of the ocean?
I don't even know.
This is what keeps me up at night.
Yeah, I know. It would keep me up at night too. I'm so excited for the existential crisis I'm going to go through over the weekend.
So, psychiatrist Carl Jung mentioned it earlier. He thought that meaningful coincidences demonstrate the limits of conventional causal thinking.
Yes. I was going to look more into that because I don't necessarily understand that statement unless it's just saying that, like, believing in a meaningful coincidence limits how we think about causes of events.
Yeah.
So would that sentence then be in support of everything happens for a reason, or in disagreement with everything happens for a reason? Because if we believe that everything happens for a reason, then we're limiting ourselves. But if we just only believe in meaningful coincidences or just coincidence as themselves, then we're limiting.
Well, having the ability to think that there's something meaningful to coincidences, it shows that causal thinking might not be it.
Right.
So that's the limits of causal thinking. So A equals B, but if there's a possibility of C, then A no longer just equals B.
Okay,
and
yes.
so Aristotle kind of talks about this, like when I looked into then like fate and free will, the argument there. So Aristotle proposed the law of the excluded middle. Did I pronounce that properly? Excluded middle.
That sounds right.
So basically every proposition is either true or false. That's what that means.
Okay.
So it means there is no middle option. So this kind of comes from think of, like, for example, someday you will decide to get married versus you will never decide to get married. Those are the only two concepts.
So it was a very black and white.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so when you think about it, this is also, again, fate or free will. So the argument of fate is that you will never make that decision. And free will
will be made for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you will decide.
Right.
And so, like, fatalists believe that that all events are predetermined and therefore inevitable.
Yeah.
And therefore you never make any of your own decisions.
Right.
So where I think Carl Jung was going off of with this causal thinking or
conventional causal thinking.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you said that A equals B, but A might also equal C, so therefore A doesn't equal B, what that made me think of is there was an example in one of the things I was reading, is that this guy's tire popped on his way to work. Okay, everything happens for a reason. The actual reason that his tire popped for work was there was metal shards on the road. He drove over them, popped his tire. But is there a greater reason as to why he had to be late to work or whatever for then? So then you can think of the cause of the event, the reason, quote unquote, as something, as the actual legitimate reason. Or, like, say you missed your exit. You're just however many lanes over because you weren't paying attention. That's the reason you missed your exit. But were you not paying attention in so many lanes over because there's a horrific accident on that exit that you would have been involved in, right? Like,
well, and that's, the whole concept of everything happens for a reason, then leaning into something like God, angel guides, divine timing.
Yeah.
Right? Had your tire not popped because you ran over the shards of metal, you might have been in a catastrophic accident or involved in a shooting or...
Yeah.
And it happens many times, right? Where people who escape, or there's many examples of it, where people who escape great...
Like disasters.
Disasters for example, like with 9/11, right? Mm-hmm. How many people were late to work the day that the Twin Towers went down because their kid was sick?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And then you have this kind of survivor's guilt because of that. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, personally, I also want to believe in divine timing and angel guides, and there's something protecting me.
Yeah, 100%.
And I just got goosebumps. I'm like, is that a confirmation from spirit? Like, I don't know. But yeah, the concept of that, or like how many times like do you veer off your path, so to speak, to learn a lesson that's going to help you further down that path.
Exactly. Or even, to veer off to reaffirm, oh, I am supposed to be on this path. Yeah. This is something that I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah. Like me being so badly sick and just bad in my body, like going just not doing well at 21.
Yeah.
What did that save me from at 52?
Yes.
Right?
Well, and would you have chosen this? Would you be where you are today?
No.
Exactly. So, thank you. But yeah, it's like, what would your life look like if that hadn't happened?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you can go into a spiral thinking, like, talking what ifs, right?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
But it's almost comforting to think of lessons and benefits and growth based off of those decisions. Yeah,
definitely. And yeah, so like everything happens for a reason can be very biblical. There's a Bible verse that goes, and we know that God causes all things to work together for good to those who love God, to those who are called according to his purpose. And so that's Romans 8:28. And so basically it's saying that if you believe in God, then good things will happen to you. And if something bad does happen to you, then there's a greater plan at work. And so if you believe that everything happens for a reason, religious or not, it can kind of almost result in like a mindset shift. And I found personally that if something terrible happens, then I can kind of cope with it by knowing that there's something more coming that's going to make that suffering worth it or explain it a little bit better.
Well, in terms like when one door closes, another opens is that, or if there's like a death around you, if you're whether it be a family member, a friend, they're now meant to be guiding you rather than with you in physical presence, right? Like their meaning is for that to cope with grief or
exactly. And so I don't know how much of that is just like almost like a naive mindset of like, oh, I just want to believe that, so like whatever, it might not be true. But I feel like, especially in university, in my first year university, it was very much like everything happens for a reason. And then I was made fun of so much by one guy on my floor that I've kind of like stopped believing that, because he was very much like, you're stupid for believing in God. And I was like, thank you so much. You're a great friend. And so then I kind of lost that, but there were so many things in university that I was like, oh my gosh, that's why that happened. Like that happened so that I could be here now. And they were very distinct and I can't remember any of them, but it was just like, it was blindingly obvious.
Yeah.
That it was like, everything does happen for a reason, for me at least, in that situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just kind of helps with like just a go with the flow mindset, so that I know for me personally, I'm not so worried about everything that's happening. Yeah. Right?
I think there's comfort in it.
Oh, very much so, yeah.
But again, someone can find comfort in the fact that there is nothing greater. That Tuesday is Tuesday and Wednesday is Wednesday, just because we decided that's it.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
There's no meaning for it. There's no message. There's no greater divine that is controlling you, so to speak.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and I feel like it's just kind of like calming, so like, oh, if something happens and you're like, oh, well, I wonder what is going to happen to make this worth it. Sure hope it shows up pretty soon, but yeah. In my personal opinion, coincidences, too many things have to align in order for it to not be planned.
Yeah.
Like, again, with the Big Bang Theory, how on earth was that just completely random? I cannot wrap my little pea brain around it. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, I agree with it. And I mean, as someone who's always kind of grown up with the idea that there is something greater, like, I'm not a particularly religious person. I grew up with religious relatives.
Yeah.
But I also grew up with, I mean, one grandpa in particular, he would go to a different church or different religious ceremony every week just to see what people believe in.
Dude, I would do that. That'd be very interesting.
Mm-hmm. And so he did that like consistently. And so he had a lot of very unique opinions because of that versus another grandparent who was like diehard Lutheran.
Right.
Right. I've always liked the idea of past lives. I think for me that explains like why you meet someone that you've never physically met before, but they're so familiar.
Yeah.
There's no connection. There's no reason why you should know this person, but you know them so deeply, like to your core.
Yeah.
That you're like, it must have been like a past life experience.
There's something more. Yeah, definitely.
Because I've had that feeling many times in my life when I've met someone and I'm like, I know you from somewhere. Where is it?
Yeah, no kidding.
And you throw out all the possible places where you could know this person from.
Yeah.
Like, did you go to this school? Did you grow up here? Where are you from? Like, who do you know in this city? Who do you know in this town? Who do you know at this party?
Yeah.
Why do I know you when we have nothing that lines up?
Right?
Is that coincidence?
Well, how can that be?
Yeah.
Like, why would that be a coincidence? Like,
right? For me, that's when it's like, what divine timing? Why are we supposed to meet right now?
Yeah.
Right? And you meet a lot of people. For me, I've also grown up with the phrase that people come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. Okay. Right? Mm-hmm. And so a reason to teach a lesson, for example, right? Yeah. A season just to experience, if you're like to, I mean, maybe challenge your core beliefs or challenge your personality, right? Yeah. You're friends with someone for this season to see if you actually want to be something different. Yeah. Right? If you want to explore a different side of you, or if you're like, no, actually, we don't vibe. Like, it's fine. Mm-hmm. Nothing really to it. Yeah. Or a lifetime. Yeah. Right? And those are your twin flames, soulmates, support, like your largest support systems. Yes. And soulmates doesn't have to mean romantic, right? I have a lot of friends who I value so deeply. Mm-hmm. We might not, like, we don't agree on everything. They're not all the same people. We're not copycats of each other. But you have that connection and that love that's like unconditional. Yeah. Well, yeah, soulmate doesn't have to be romantic. It's soul mate. Mm-hmm. Like, if you break down the word, it's like your soul friend. Yeah. Like, and so I think these soul friends have been your soul friends through various past lives, if you want to play with the idea of past lives. Well, because if they're interconnected with your soul, they're so much bigger than right now. Yeah. Because I don't even think we can fully grasp the concept of who our soul is, what it's experienced, what yeah. Well, because, I mean, if you want to talk divine timing in our personal story here, right? Michaela and Journey, Michaela would have not met Journey if Michaela didn't hear from this job before the other job I applied to. Yeah. I got an offer from the second job I applied to, but I had started at the coffee shop. Yeah. Like a couple days. I had already been in like about a week. Yeah. And so I was like, no, I'm going to stick out here. Like, it's been this long. Thank you so much. Yeah. But I could have gone back to the other job. And I know the other job. Mm-hmm. I've worked there before. Yeah. But something was like saying, nope, you're going to stay here. You're going to try it out. Yeah. And I don't think it's meant for the type of work. I think it's meant for like our personal relationship now. If I want to put meaning to why I said no then. Definitely. That's the only meaning I can really say. Yeah. Because I would be doing similar type of work at both jobs. So it's not the work. Mm-hmm. I would probably end up in a similar type of role at both jobs. Yeah. Because of who I am. Yeah. And they're both convenient for me to get to. So it wasn't like one's more convenient than the other. Yeah. So that's why I chose this one. Yeah. I think it was meant for us to meet. Oh, definitely. It was definitely meant for us to meet. And I know for me personally, it was meant for me to grow a lot. Yeah. But yeah, like so much had to happen for me to end up there, right? Mm-hmm. Like if COVID hadn't happened, I don't know that I'd be living in Alberta. Yeah. So we go all the way back to 2020 to explain, 2019 even, to explain the job that I got in 2021. Like, nutty. Yeah. Yeah. Or even in the case of like, all sorts of friends. Like if my one grandpa that I'm just talking about who would explore all like religions, if he hadn't passed away when he did, we probably would have never left Manitoba.
Oh, okay.
Or we would have been less likely to leave Manitoba.
Yeah.
Right? It's never say never.
Yeah.
But him passing away so young was kind of like a wake up for my parents to be like, oh, are we really happy here? Like, do we want to be in a place where it's just comfortable?
Yeah.
Or do we want to explore a different life?
Exactly.
And see how that takes us.
Yeah.
And that then is a domino effect to everything else that I've done growing up, like in my teenage years and adult years and life lessons and da. But.
Well, yeah. And even with that, because time travel just popped into my mind of like, and like alternate timelines and like going back in time and changing one thing. Like you even going back in time changes everything from the time that you get back to and from the time that you left.
And that's the butterfly effect, right?
The butterfly effect is like a butterfly flaps his wings in Australia, causes a tsunami in Hawaii kind of thing.
Yeah, but it's like a small action that then causes a domino effect of various events.
Yeah. I think so, yeah. Do you think that these concepts interact?
Yes.
Yes.
I say hesitantly. Okay. No. Yes, because I feel like they have to interact if I'm someone who believes of like in divine timing and meaningful coincidences. Mm-hmm. Right? Like for everything to align so perfectly, I feel like there has to be an interaction between something greater, like as you said, something greater, and then just Tuesday.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Both things can be kind of true at the same time.
Tuesday was called Tuesday for a reason. Why?
Yeah.
Do we know? Can we ever know?
It's the second day of the week, Tuesday.
Yeah. But like, is that what they were thinking when the brain was creating its own name?
Well, for some of them, it was, it's either Julius Caesar or Mark Antony who actually no, I'm thinking of the months, not the days of the week. Yeah. Who did the days of the week?
I don't know. I can't. I'm not that good with history.
Wow. Okay, yeah, but like he was naming the months after his friends and some of the planets, and then they just added a couple more in to make it line up.
The Babylonians.
Oh, Babylonians did so much.
Divided the 28-day lunar cycle into 4 weeks, consisting of 7 days.
I saw a TikTok that said we should add a 13th month so that we're perfectly in sync with the lunar cycle. And I was like, yes, because every month is 4 weeks. It starts on like a Sunday, ends on a Saturday, starts on the 1st, ends on the 28th. We're like perfectly in sync with the moon if we add a 13th month.
So then what do we name that for 13th month though? And then every language has to name that 13th month. Yeah.
Which I feel like it would probably be, what's 13 in Latin?
Jesus Christ. I don't know.
Tridecium. I don't know. That's kind of boring. It would be like...
So December Tridecium? January?
It would be like Trecember or something. Because, yeah, September is the 7th month, October is the 8th month, November is the 9th month, December is the 10th month. Ooh, so our months are all wrong. And so then... Oh, golly.
Like, I've just got questions for how people were like, yeah, this is how it is. Because they just said, yeah, this is how it is.
I would personally call the 13th month, like, Trecember or something like that. I'm thinking of, like, a really specific word, like Friday the 13th. But I don't know what it is.
Because, so to argue, though, then, in Finnish, the months, because they don't follow English, Latin, any kind of descent. Finnish is its own thing. Mm-hmm. So they named the months off of what happens around that time. Oh, okay. So, like, January is Tammikuu. Okay. And Tammikuu Tammy means oak.
Like O-A-K?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then in some dialects, it also means heart or core. And that's like the root of its name.
Okay.
And so it's the middle or core of winter in Finland.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So that's how they went to like Tammikuu.
Mm-hmm.
Right? In where is it? In Toukoku, that's May.
Okay.
And that is like the time, like Toku is like seed planting. So that's where you start planting your crops and stuff.
Right.
So that makes more sense to me than even our Latin descendant of numbers and stuff.
But then, because then with the 13th month, because like what would happen in the 13th month is just what would happen in January, basically. We would just shift it a little bit. Mm-hmm. So then, I don't know. I'd put the 13th month like after August, before September. I'd give us another summer month.
But it wouldn't really be a summer month. Physically, it'd be September. Mm-hmm. So it would just make September summer.
It would make September, October.
Yeah.
Like fall.
Yeah.
Jeez Louise. I don't know. It's weird to think about. But yeah, the TikTok was really interesting. Because they were just like, because then we'd be fully in sync with the moon and it would just help so much and it would just change so many things. I'm like, why didn't we do that? Stupid Mark Anthony.
So do you think one is more true than the other?
I don't.
Yeah.
I think they are both true. It just depends on what you personally believe in.
Yeah.
If you are someone who the idea of everything happens for a reason and the reason being like spiritual or like the big why or whatever, and that's not something you can wrap your brain around, then fine. Like coincidence is coincidence.
Yeah.
But that's not necessarily true for me. So it's just like interpretation and stuff, right?
Yeah. I think the concept that I'm able to like most relate to is the concept that like our free will decisions determine our fate. Because that's, even though correlation does not always equal causation, to me it more often than not does. Even though you can't back it up by numbers or science, if you eat like garbage and you die young, there's a little bit of a correlation there. Yeah, definitely. Right.
With me, in terms of fate and free will, I think we're given, we have the illusion of free will, but not in the extent that it's being used today. I think that we think we have free will because of the way we were made. Like, the decisions that I would make out of my own quote unquote free will have been instilled in me since when I was a baby and probably before then. So is this like, actually
nature versus nurture?
Is it actually free will if it's something that I've been taught or learned or was born with, right?
Is it free will if it's a mandated?
No, it's not.
Like, because education and stuff and what you learn in schools and how you pass school is rinse and repeat.
And so then we're being carefully molded. So the decisions we make then lead to the fate that we've been given or like assigned or whatever, but it's done in a way that makes it think that it's our choice. That's my opinion on how that works. But yeah,
that makes sense.
So I have a Reddit post. I want to see if I can read it. The comments were very interesting, and there's a couple I want to just discuss with you. Because the Reddit post is just, do you think things happen because of a coincidence or everything happens for a reason? Because a lot of the comments were arguing for coincidence versus everything happens for a reason. I figured we'd be more everything happens for a reason. And so they say, like, depends on what you call a reason and what you call coincidence. So it's like technically everything that happens just a long chain of cause and result or action and reaction. So they don't believe in coincidence is the most... So I do not believe in coincidence in the most technical view of the word. Depending on what you call a reason, everything happens for a reason. So that's like what we talked about with the tires and stuff. And so another commenter goes, everything happens for a reason, just not the reason they want. If I happen to get hit by a bus while crossing the street, the reason is because the brakes on the bus were bad or the driver wasn't paying attention. The fact that it was me specifically that got killed is coincidence because I happened to be there. People tend to think of for a reason because even if something bad happens, life goes on. By definition, you're going to move on to something else. If you happen to get laid off but then find your dream job, it wasn't because there was a reason. It's because you have to keep living and moving on. The world didn't end. And so, yeah, I don't know. I disagree. But I get what they're trying to say.
Well, now, so that goes into, so on our Instagram, we did a poll. And the stats are insane. So only 6% voted for a coincidence and 94% voted for a reason.
Yeah.
And the votes for coincidence primarily were that, right? Where you want to believe that everything happens for a reason, but the universe is too illogical for that. And that's like the primary argument for that side based off of our Instagram followers.
Yeah. And so like this next quote actually talks about like atoms and stuff. And so they say even you being there wasn't a coincidence because he's replying to the bus driver one. So everything that happens is ultimately a result of the movement of atoms. And then in parentheses he puts, be it in our head or brains or anywhere else. And this is something we just don't control. Free will is an illusion. Nothing is a coincidence, but that doesn't mean there's any reason for anything or any reason why things are the way they are. They just are. The particles in the universe were set on their courses since the Big Bang.
Yeah.
So they're saying there is a plan and everything happens for a reason, but it's not some big glorious like God is playing puppeteer with people. It's that's just the course of the universe. That's just how it's going to be.
Yeah. Well, and how long are we just riding this timeline until the next Big Bang?
Exactly.
We'll never know. Like, we're not going to know in our lifetime.
Yeah.
Or if we do, well, good luck to you.
My condolences. Yeah. And so, yeah, it's just kind of interesting that, like, it's just such a giant conversation, right? Like, because, again, no one knows. No one will ever know.
Yeah. And so from our following, some of the responses towards for a reason is another person said, I strongly believe that what you put out in the universe is what will attract to you. And that kind of goes with what the last comment that we said of your free will decisions determine your fate. Yeah. That falls along that line.
Yeah, definitely.
Another one is each of us has a story that we're following and the book knows where we're going. So that kind of more so relates from like a God or a life path kind of point of view.
Yeah, definitely. Right? It's like there's a bigger plan at action and we're only in chapter 1. So what's going to happen XYZ? Yeah. Which I like the analogy of putting us in a book because it takes the religion out of it. And so it kind of makes it a little bit more like less argumentative and more digestible for people who aren't necessarily religious or whether they're atheistic or just agnostic. Yeah. Right? Yeah. But for me, I don't know. I like that.
See, I'm going to argue. Book scares me more.
Why?
Because, I don't know, I think of chapters in a book. So how many chapters do I have? Do chapters equate to my life events? Do chapters equate to my age? Is chapter 1 birth to 5?
Yeah, well, and that's the thing, right? But it kind of makes sense, though, because we do have a beginning, a middle, and an end of our life, right? Like,
you do.
At one point, we're going to run out of chapters.
It's true, but I don't find comfort in that.
Oh, yeah, no, me neither. Me neither, 100%. I just love books, so I like the idea of my life being a book. We're not going to talk about the end of the world and death and dying.
It'd be a blue-covered book called Journey.
Literally, it's beautiful.
Journey.
It just looks like an olden, like an ancient book that's just beautifully bound and gold embossed and just the spine has never been broken and it's just beautiful.
Even though your spine is
pretty. My spine is broken, but my books is fine.
So another person then said it's the universe telling you this is where you need to be right now, and that's kind of more so where I'm at. I'm like I try to find, and maybe that's not actually a synchronicity, but I try to make meaning out of events that happen, right? Reference back angel numbers. Why am I seeing this number at this time? Yeah. Why am I so drawn to that particular house on this street? Why am I so drawn? Like, how do I know this person? Yeah. For me, and then dreams even. Like, I have a lot of very vivid dreams. Yeah. That then result in a lot of deja vu moments.
Yeah.
And so is that deja vu moment, what does it mean for me? Why do I feel so intensely about this moment?
Right.
Is it a confirmation I'm on the right path? Or is there something more to it? So
Yeah, I know, because I know that you've said quite a bit to me, whether on or off the podcast, that like, yeah, this was reaffirming. Like every time I see an angel number, it tells me I'm on the right path, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which I think is kind of neat.
Yeah.
And that's not something that I usually think about. It's that. But yeah, I guess it kind of makes sense. Like,
because once upon a time when I ignored these things, I lost my health because of it. My hair started falling out.
Yeah, you would definitely have a very like exceptional story where it's like
it doesn't happen to every 21-year-old.
Yeah, you got slapped in the face with reality, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna die.
Yeah,
and so not all of us can have that same kind of experience, right?
Yeah,
but
well, you could. It just might happen later on, and cue midlife crisis.
It does, yeah.
Right?
Dude, looking into midlife crises.
Well, it happens midlife crisis and quarter life crisis because those are the two most transformational times psychologically. Yeah. The two most transformational times of your life.
Yeah.
Right? Quarter life crisis, roughly 25.
Yeah.
We're going off the premise that everyone lives to 100. Your brain is now fully developed.
Yeah.
And societally, you should be adult. You should be getting married or in a committed relationship. You should be planning kids. You're building your career and your dream job. Yeah. And then if you have kids within that time range, by 50, your kids are going to be out of the house.
Exactly.
If you follow the societal
pressure. Yeah, and then your whole life changes because you're like, okay, I'm no longer... Like, they no longer need me to survive.
Because from 25 to 50... you are then just focused on your career and paying your bills and raising your kids and not everyone, but again, the idea of this comes from that. Yeah. By 50, you're no longer young, right? No. You don't feel the same way you did when you were 25.
Yes.
Your kids are now out of the house and your relationships either make or break.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Right.
And so you realize that, no, you don't like what you have just been chugging along doing for the sake of these little gremlins that you created. Yeah. So now you're like, oh, I'm gonna go buy a motorcycle and move to Mexico because you're done. Like you just kind of snap.
Yeah. Yeah, because you are so uncomfortable with where you're being right now that you need to change everything because you've lost your sense of self.
Exactly. So those are the two most transformational periods in psychology, and hence the terms quarter life and midlife crisis. Yeah. I don't know, especially now with all the societal changes regarding the quarter life crisis. Like, a lot, like Gen Z has done a lot of work, and even millennials have done a lot of work redefining what it means to be 25 and what your life can look like at 25. Yeah, I would say less Gen Z because we're only on the top. Yeah, we're on the top end of Gen Z, and Gen Z I'm just approaching little. 25.
I kind of realized that. I was like, yeah, no, not Gen Z, definitely just millennials.
No, Gen Z calls me old, and I'm technically the very top end of it.
I consider myself a millennial. I don't care.
100%. Me too. I'm a young millennial. Yeah. I'm not an old Gen Z.
I'm a baby millennial. I'm a centennial. And centennial. That was good. Thank you. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So if you identify as a centennial, reach out. We'll start a support group.
I love that.
Oh, good stuff.
So our last Instagram comment is, because if it doesn't happen for a reason, my anxiety shoots through the roof. And that is like, again, wraps up into the concept of needing to put meaning into something just so your brain stays grounded. Literally, just to make sense of things. Yeah. Yeah, because if you lose someone and you're like, okay, well, why did this happen? Like, what's the greater reason? It's, I don't know. Anthropologically, it's something that it's something that humans do, is that we are always searching for a reason why. It's what makes us so unique and separates us from like the rest of the animal kingdom. Separates us from a centipede.
Literally.
Our genetic code to a centipede.
It's not our size, it's asking why. It's not our lack of legs.
Yeah. It's not that we only have 2 legs and not 45.
We're 1/50th of a centipede.
Well, and that kind of, we could probably talk about this for decades. But we're going to wrap that up there. If you have thoughts on one or the other, interact. Let us know.
Let us know.
Comment.
Yeah.
Reach out to us on Instagram.
Comment on our YouTube. Let's start doing a bunch of things there too, right? Like, I don't know. It's so interesting, and it's a conversation that's never ending.
Yeah.
So
we're open to DMs and emails, and if you have an opinion on this that you want us to share for you, we will email us, DM us. We'll share it on the next episode.
Definitely.
But yeah.
Okay.
Our segment for today, we're gonna do hot takes because this wasn't philosophically controversial enough.
These are a little bit less hot takes than like the creation versus Big Bang Theory. But yeah. You want to go first?
Sure. So Journey just found a website that has 6 categories, and then we're just going to pick one hot take from each category.
Yeah.
So the first one's animal hot takes. I'm going to go with pugs are ugly as the hot take.
I agree.
Me too.
Yeah. I don't love them.
No.
No.
I think it's like just the wrong genetic combination.
It's just...
they can't breathe. They look stubby. They're slobbery. I'm not into it.
They're not genetically, or they're not superior in any way. And like with, what is it? French bulldogs, which aren't necessarily pugs, but they're puggish.
Yeah.
They can't give birth to their babies because their heads have been genetically engineered to be so big they don't fit out the dog pelvis.
Yeah.
Like, that's ugly.
They are probably the first to go if there ever was like a natural selection scenario.
And if natural selection had been allowed to naturally select, they would have gone.
Yeah.
But because
Pugs and Pomeranians.
Because we invented dog cesarean sections, they could just have babies.
Pomeranians have glass bones too.
Really? I didn't know that.
Like they jump off something. It's not physical glass churn. It's a figure of speech. They jump off something too high, their bones shatter.
Really?
Yeah, they got no strength.
I didn't know that.
Because of all the genetic mutation and processing and...
Oh my gosh. It's just like, if it's not broken, don't fucking fix it.
Yeah.
Okay. So then... Samsung is better than Apple.
I guess that's how you determine better. They do have better stats, I would say, as far as like storage options, and you're able to add more storage more conveniently. Rather with Apple, you have to spend $2,000 on a brand new phone.
Oh yeah,
just for them to junk it up of updates. For me personally, I've been so a part of the Apple cult.
Yeah,
that it's more of a headache now for me to switch to Samsung and learn Samsung.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think Apple is a little bit more user friendly, but for those of you who are like tech advanced or like really knowledgeable in the tech sphere, Samsung's definitely way better. And
I think Apple's like the IKEA, and Samsung is like the thrifted vintage antique piece that is better built.
Yeah, has lasted forever, will last forever.
Yeah,
but it might not look as pretty.
Exactly.
Yeah.
For entertainment hot takes, I have to go with podcasts aren't worth listening to.
Rude.
Obviously, I disagree.
Yeah, I disagree.
I think there's a social aspect, and I'm not saying that just because like I enjoy talking into a mic, but as a listener as well, I enjoy the connections piece, and the podcasts tend to be more like raw or real rather than like YouTube or Instagram, and you kind of just debate things and you get more a variety of opinions in real time.
Yeah, it's like a radio show, but without commercials. Yeah, more or less. And there's a never-ending like amount of things you can do with a podcast or learn from a podcast. Yeah,
I'm gonna flip that. I think morning TV is not worth watching. Yeah, I think it's so scripted and staged.
The talk shows are just so boring.
It's a publicity stunt.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think with podcasts, it's reinventing the media form and making it accessible for anyone, including two white chicks from Canada.
Because it doesn't take much to start a podcast.
Yeah. So it gives the competition, whereas like the TV world is so scripted and
Well, and I'd be much more open to listening to a podcast, because I saw that there was a podcast interview of Dom from Perfect Match, and I was like, oh my goodness, I want to listen to that, versus like seeing him on like Oprah or The Red Table or like whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like I'd be way more interested in this because I know that they're gonna actually get down to the nitty gritty.
Yeah.
All right, so fashion hot takes. Oh gosh, there's so many. Crocs are a must-have footwear item.
No. They're, I don't know, if you're someone who has like a cabin lifestyle or spends a lot of time like outside in hot weather, then yeah, they're convenient.
Yeah.
I personally hate the way Crocs feel against my toenails.
Oh, yes.
The rubber, the way it like I like flip-flops. And I like Birkenstocks and stuff, like the rubbery Birkenstocks.
It's yeah.
But I hate the way like the rubber scratches against your toenails in Crocs.
Yeah.
But a slip-on shoe to run out and whatever, yeah, something they're convenient for that sake.
Yeah, I think for kids, Crocs are a must-have. Because to me, they seem like just cheap things that the kid can just like throw on and just run around in.
But they're not even like that cheap anymore.
I know, they've gotten way more expensive since I owned a pair of Crocs.
Like, I think flip-flops and any form of sandal just does the same job.
Yeah, but it's like, if your little boy's gonna be running around doing whatever, they can put it into race mode and then they're good to go. Whereas if they have like a slide, that's not so much gonna do it. And then they're literally just rubber. You can just hose them off if they get filthy.
That's true.
But I definitely don't think that I need to have a pair.
Under food hot takes, Pop-Tarts are overrated.
I don't know that I can have an opinion on this because I'm pretty sure I've had one Pop-Tart ever.
I agree with it. I don't think there's anything to scoff at with Pop-Tarts. I think they're gross.
I don't know. I want to try and like toaster one. Like put one in the toaster and like warm it up because that's how people do it sometimes.
Yeah, I hate it.
But no, I've never, like, I don't know enough about Pop-Tarts to have an opinion on that.
Yeah.
That's my hot take.
I just don't care for them.
Yeah.
There's nothing. Yeah, they're nothing to scoff at.
Yeah. Okay, for travel hot takes, seeing the world should be on everyone's bucket list.
I'm gonna go with, should be. Not the world, but everyone should experience something outside of their own comfort zone.
Yep.
At least a handful of times in their life.
100%, yeah. It's the same thing with like graduating high school and moving to a different city.
Yeah.
That is huge for your personal growth and development.
Yeah, and I think for a global perspective, it doesn't have to be the world, but it should be at least 5 times in your lifetime you experience something outside of yourself or outside of your comfort zone. So it's not, I'm not talking like going from Canada to the States.
Yeah.
Canada to Mexico is more acceptable. That's more of a culture shock.
Yeah.
Right? To Europe isn't a crazy shock, but even
it still would be, right? Like coming
you live
from
differently.
Small town Alberta and going to England.
Yeah.
That's going to be huge, right?
Yeah. To have like at least 5 experiences in your life where you are outside of what you know. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's important for global perspective and personal growth.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And that's what we have for hot takes.
Yeah.
Those are our opinions.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Thanks for tuning in if you make it to the end of this episode.
Yes.
We love you and appreciate you so dearly.
Thank you.
If you like what we had to say or if you just like us, give us a like. Give us a rating. Comment.
Yeah. Leave us a review. We would love to read it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm Mak Joy.
I'm It's Jubes.
We are Sometimes Brought Slaps on all social media platforms.
Yes.
You can find all of our websites and whatnot linked, or the episodes linked on our website if you are having trouble finding it elsewhere.
Yes.
But if you're having trouble finding it elsewhere, give us a review and that will help us. That'll make us show up.
Yeah, exactly. Reviews help us stay relevant in the podcast universe.
Yeah.
So, thank you so much.
And feel free to, as we said earlier, feel free to interact with us on anything.
Yeah, anything and everything.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Ta-ta for now.
Bye.
Bye.